Hi, so today I'm just going to discuss my health campaign paper with everyone. I decided to write it on a subject that I'm sure many of you know of, or even know someone that is affected by it, and that would be the heroin opioid epidemic. I chose this subject because it has personally affected my life. I've had many friends that their lives have basically been ruined because of this drug. And I think it's important to discuss it and really bring it to light. And with it being declared a national health emergency, I think that's definitely a step in the right direction to start finding some new research and resources and ways to get help for these people. The CDC estimates that 91 Americans die every day. If that's not a huge health issue, then I don't know what is. That number is crazy high. Um, there shouldn't be a number at all, but there is. Um, it's it's crazy. The target population I chose was the actual heroin opioid users. I feel like a lot of people often see them as lost and not worth the cause of saving. So that's one reason I really wanted to focus on them. Um, for my health campaign messages, I discussed the social cognitive theory, which basically has two expectations. The expectation that an action will lead to a particular outcome, and then the second being the expectation a person has about his or her own ability to perform this action. And I really tried to focus on the second expectation and the individual's self-efficacy, because a person must feel they are able to actually achieve an action and that it will lead to certain results for them to decide whether they will actually change their behavior or not. An example I used would an opioid addict believing they are strong enough to become sober. So I really tried to focus a lot on that when creating my campaign messages. And the second theory I used from the chapter was the stages of change model, which basically the researchers realized that behavior change can happen over various stages of a person's readiness to take change. So I really focused on the contemplation stage because obviously the heroin opioid users already know about this issue and how dangerous it is. I wanted to make them realize that change can happen and that they can get clean. Um, so they need to realize the pros and cons of getting clean and how hard it may be. I also discussed the Casey's Law, which is basically involuntary commitment. A family member or a loved one can have the person that is addicted to the drugs involuntarily committed. Of course, they have to go to a judge, and the judge would grant basically a warrant. A lot of people don't use this because the petitioner is responsible for all the cost. But I think it's important to look at going forward with declaring this a health emergency and maybe taking some plays from its playbook to help people get clean and get off the street. I also talked about how the drug user is changing and how it has changed. It's no longer a black person from the inner city ghetto. It's all over. It's white people, it's from every race. Heroin, opioids do not discriminate against race, and they have reached into the most unassuming households in America. And I think people need to be aware of that. I think people need to be aware of the stereotypes and realize that heroin doesn't discriminate, and it can kill anyone. So I think that's important for people to realize. I also talked about the Good Samaritan law in North Carolina, which I think it's important to know that that if a person overdoses and their friend calls 911, then neither of them are going to get in trouble, because I think that's a lot of the reason why people just come to the emergency room and drop their friend off and then run away. So I think them knowing that there won't be any repercussions is important to know. And in North Carolina, under the Good Samaritan law, a pharmacist can also give out Narcan without a prescription. The person obviously has to meet some eligibility requirements, but I think it's harder to obviously make someone stop, but at least they have the Narcan that's there to help them and revive them if they overdose. Which it's sad that I even have to say that, but it's the truth. I also talked about OPP, which is an opioid prevention program that is in North Carolina. And they hand out Narcan rescue kits. They contain 2 doses of Narcan and directions to properly give the drug. Again, it's sad that this is even needed, but it is. And I think family members, this would be really great for family members who are just living every day in fear that their loved one may overdose and die because of this drug. So, on to my health messages. This is my first one. There it is. A picture of a little girl standing by a coffin. And then this bottom picture is a before and after picture of someone getting clean. I'll just read it to you very quickly. Are you tired of stealing and wondering how you will get your next high? Are you ready to be the next death statistic? Or are you ready to get clean? Maybe you do want to get clean, but are scared of the withdrawal, or if you're even capable of doing it. Well, there are resources and help out there for you. There are people that believe in you and want to help you get clean. You just have to make the first step. Call the Butler County Crisis Helpline. Do not be the next death. Do not make your mother bury you. Do not leave your child to live a life without you. Call and figure out your options. There are people that will help and be there with you through every step. Help make yourself the last picture and not the first. So I really, again, tried to just reiterate that with that second picture, that change is possible and that they can do it. And also I tried to induce fear, mostly with the picture of the little girl standing next to the coffin. I think a lot of people, that hits home with them. And my second health campaign message was actually a personal video about an ex-boyfriend who was a heroin user, and his, basically a short summary of his heroin use. He went to jail many times, was arrested, and finally he was able to get clean. He fell down a lot and he failed, but he kept trying and he did get clean. But also another scary reality that he's facing now is his kidneys are failing. He's 28 years old. He's finally clean and off this drug, but his kidneys are failing. He needs dialysis and he needs a kidney replacement. These are just the realities of what using this drug will do if you continue using it any longer than you already have. And I think just relating to people on a real level and letting them know that change is possible, and other people like them have done it in similar situations. So, thank you.